Could you imagine celebrating a holiday that's thousands of years old where the main tradition is simply eating bread? Sounds pretty awesome, right? Well, that's exactly what we're diving into today. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Pagan Temple. I'm Matt Holloway, and if you're new here, we're all about making pagan education accessible and understandable to everyone. No gatekeeping, no judgment, just genuine learning and exploration. Today, we're exploring Lughnasadh, also called Lammas by some, one of the most delicious holidays on the pagan calendar. And yes, I said delicious for a reason. We're talking about a celebration that combines ancient Celtic mythology, athletic competitions, matchmaking, and enough fresh bread to make a bakery jealous. Whether you're completely new to paganism, curious about ancient traditions, or just love learning about different cultures, this video is for you. So grab a snack, a drink, maybe even a piece of bread, and let's dive in. What is Lughnasadh? Well, first things first, the pronunciation. It's Lughnasadh. Lughnasadh. Don't worry if you stumble over it. I definitely did when I was first starting out. Lughnasadh, Lughnasadh, Lughnasadh. Got it? Great. Okay, so when do we celebrate this? It's typically around August 1st in the Northern Hemisphere. That's just around the corner. That's today, actually. And what exactly is Lughnasadh? Well, imagine if our ancestors had a holiday that was essentially, hey, we successfully grew food, we didn't starve, let's celebrate. That's Lughnasadh in a nutshell. But trust me, there's so much more depth to it than that. This is the first of the 3 harvest festivals in the pagan year. Think of it as the opening act of harvest season, the moment when all that spring planting and summer tending finally pays off with actual edible results. So the name Lughnasadh comes from the Irish god, all right, bear with me here, Lugh. And oh boy, let me tell you about this guy. Think of him as the ancient Celtic equivalent of a Renaissance master. This god could do literally everything. He was a crafter, he did arts, warfare, poetry, healing. You name a skill, Lugh mastered it. The Celts basically created the ultimate overachiever in a deity. Now, you might hear this holiday called Lammas. That does come from later Christian adaptations, but today we're focusing on the original pagan roots and the rich Celtic traditions that started it all. The festival name literally means the Assembly of Lugh, or Lugh's Festival, because this wasn't just any ordinary celebration. This was the event of the late summer calendar. Now, let's get real for a moment about what this meant to our ancestors. This wasn't just a party, this was literally the difference between life and death. A successful first harvest meant your community would survive the coming winter. A failed harvest? Well, that was a community-ending disaster. Picture entire villages, sometimes thousands of people coming together for days of celebration. We're talking athletic competitions, storytelling marathons, legal proceedings. Think like city council meetings, things like that. Matchmaking, of course. And it was basically the ancient tender, if you want to be real. And of course, it was like sharing the bounty of that first harvest. Everyone got together. Guy had a great grain harvest, good fruit harvest, etc. They all kind of pulled everything together and had a feast. But here's what I find beautiful about modern celebrations. Today, Lughnasadh is about gratitude, about community, and celebrating the fruits of our labor, whether that's actual gardening, personal achievements, creative projects, or just surviving another freaking year, especially in the heat of the South. It's been intense this summer. So who exactly was this Lugh character? If I had to give you a modern comparison, I think I would have to combine Captain America, you know why, Tony Stark, because he was good at everything, and Gordon Ramsay, because he is an overachiever. Imagine if all 3 of those guys had a baby. That's Lugh. Okay, maybe that's kind of a weird image, but hear me out. Ancient Celtic sources describe Lugh as literally the master of every craft, skill, and art that you could imagine. His nickname, and I may butcher this up, but Lamvada, meaning the long-armed one, not because he was physically long-armed, but because his reach, his influence, his abilities extended into every area of life. Blacksmithing? He hammered it out. Poetry? Obviously. Warfare? He was undefeated. Healing? Top tier of his class. The guy was basically the ancient world's ultimate Renaissance man. But here's where the story gets a little touching. And this is crucial to understanding Lughnasadh as well. Lugh didn't create this festival for himself. He created it to honor his foster mother, Tailtu. According to Irish mythology, Tailtu literally worked herself to death, clearing the forests of Ireland to make them suitable for agriculture. She gave her life so that future generations could have fertile farmland. And Lugh, in his grief and gratitude, established this great festival as her funeral game, a celebration of her sacrifice and the abundance that it actually made possible. Now, this story isn't just ancient mythology. It's a profound teaching about the nature of abundance and sacrifice. Tailtu's story tells us that every harvest, every abundance in our lives comes from someone's sacrifice and hard work. Think about it. The grain itself dies to feed us. The plant gives up its life so that we can have something as simple as bread. Farmers work exhausting hours so we can have food on our tables. Parents sacrifice time and energy so that their children can thrive. It's this beautiful, heavy circle of life, death, and renewal that Lughnasadh asks us to recognize and honor. Ancient people understood something we sometimes forget in our convenience-driven world, that abundance doesn't just happen. It requires sacrifice, dedication, and community effort. Every loaf of bread represents countless hands. The farmer who planted, his family that tended, the miller who ground the grain, the baker who kneaded the dough, the person who put it in the oven, brought it to your table, sold it to you, brought it to your house, whatever. This is why Lughnasadh isn't just about celebrating success. It's about acknowledging all the sacrifices, the seen and the unseen, that make our abundance possible. It's gratitude with depth and awareness. Okay, so what did these ancient celebrations actually look like? Buckle up, because Lughnasadh was basically Coachella meets a county fair meets a spiritual retreat. And it was epic. The most famous Lughnasadh celebration was called Overachiever, or the Assembly of Tailtown, held in what's now the County Meath, Ireland. We're talking about thousands of people gathering for what could be a 2-week festival. This wasn't your local church picnic. This was the social and spiritual event of the year. Athletic competitions were huge. And remember, Lugh was the god of skill, so showing off your abilities was literally an act of worship. Hurling, horse racing, wrestling, swimming contest, and probably some sports we've completely forgotten about that have been lost to time. Winners gained not just prizes, but social status. And yes, I mentioned ancient Tinder earlier. Lughnasadh was prime matchmaking season. I mean, you gotta find that snuggle buddy for the winner, of course, am I right? August was considered the most auspicious time for hand fastings and weddings, probably because everyone was feeling optimistic about surviving the winter with a good harvest, and that's something, beautifully practical about that timing. And imagine, having all the first fruits and all that food available made it a prime time to, eat what you could before it went bad, what couldn't be preserved. One tradition that modern pagans have really embraced is the sacred hill and mountain climbing. People would make pilgrimages to high places, sometimes the same spots their ancestors had climbed for centuries, usually to leave offerings and to make wishes for the coming year. There's something a little powerful and kind of meaningful about gaining that elevated perspective during the harvest times. But beyond the competitions and socializing, There were deeply sacred elements to these celebrations. The very first grain harvested was considered sacred. It belonged to the gods before any human could eat. These first fruits offering wasn't just symbolic, it was acknowledging that abundance comes from forces possibly greater than ourselves. Bread made from new grain wasn't just food, it was a sacred act of connecting earth, human labor, and divine blessing. Every loaf represented the entire cycle of life, death, renewal that we mentioned earlier. In Ireland and Scotland, gathering wild bilberries on the mountainsides was a major Lughnasadh tradition. Families would climb hills together, picking berries and sharing stories. It combined a sacred pilgrimage with practical food gathering, and honestly, it sounds like the perfect family activity to me. It reminds me of my childhood walking down the roads picking wild blackberries. And like all Celtic celebrations, fire played a huge role. Bonfires on hilltops, hearth fires for bread, baking, torchlight processions, fire as purification, as celebration, as a connection between earth and sky. What absolutely amazes me is how many of these traditions have survived and evolved. Modern pagans aren't just reading about these ancient practices in dusty old books, they're adapting them. They're making them relevant and finding incredible meaning in these connections to the past in modern life. The thread is continuous. From ancient Irish hillsides to modern community gardens, from Tailtiu's sacrifice to contemporary gratitude practices. The forms may change, but the heart remains the same. So you may ask, how do we bring these ancient traditions into our modern lives? Well, let's start with the obvious one, bread baking. But I want you to think of this more than just cooking. This is ritual, meditation, and magic all rolled into one. When you're kneading dough, think about what you're harvesting in your life this year, what you have accomplished, what projects have come to fruition, what relationships have deepened and developed, what skills have you learned and developed. Let that gratitude and that accomplishment flow into the bread through your hands. And when you break that bread with others, whether it's family, friends, your spiritual community, maybe even by yourself, you're literally sharing your blessings. There's ancient magic in that act of communal nourishment. First fruits offerings work beautifully in modern practice, whether it's from your garden, the farmer's market, your little windowsill herb garden, or even if it comes from the grocery store. Set aside the first of something. Put that intent in. It's the first of something. Put it up as an offering to Lugh, to the land spirits, or to whatever forces you recognize as bringing abundance into your life. Here's a fun modern twist on honoring Lugh. Share a skill. Remember, he was the master of all crafts. So learn something new, or even better, teach somebody else a skill that you have mastered. Share your knowledge online. YouTube is a great outlet for that. The pagan temple community, we want people sharing their skills. Try to mentor someone, lead a workshop. That's very much in the spirit of Lughnasadh and honestly part of the mission at the pagan temple. And that ancient tradition of climbing to high places, well, you don't need to access to a sacred Irish mountain. Just find the highest point you can safely reach. It could be a local hill, a city overlook. Maybe climb the stairs of a really tall building if it's accessible. Bring some biodegradable offerings and spend time in gratitude for the perspective you may have gained this year and even on that little trip. Now let me walk you through setting up a Lughnasadh altar or shrine that would make the ancient Celts proud. Think golden colors, yellows, oranges, golds that mirror the late summer sun. Add sheaves of wheat if you can find them, or any grain-based items. You can grow oats pretty much anywhere, and they're pretty much growing wild everywhere. Some fresh bread, obviously. Seasonal fruits, especially if you can get early apples or late summer berries. Include symbols of craftsmanship, tools of your trade, art supplies, instruments, anything that represents skills you've developed. And here's a personal touch that I love. Take a photo of something you've accomplished this year, one goal that you have succeeded in. Take a photo of that. It could be a garden, a finished product, a certificate, a diploma, a family photo, or even a car you've been saving up for. And use that as well. Community feasts are incredible for Lughnasadh. Plan a potluck where everyone brings something they grew, made, or are particularly proud of. But here's the key. Ask people to share the stories behind their contributions. Why did you choose this dish? What does it represent in your life? This really turns a simple meal into the celebration of community abundance. For a simple blessing ritual, light a golden candle. Hold fresh bread in your hand, smell it. Bake some bread. Maybe speak something like, Lugh of the long arm, master of all skills, I honor the harvest and all the hands that made it possible. May abundance flow to all who need it, and may I always remember the sacrifices that bring blessings into my life. That's something you could say. It took me a while to write that down. I hope you like it. Now, remember, different pagan paths might approach Lughnasadh in their own unique ways. And that's beautiful. That's perfect. If you're following a Wiccan path, you might focus on the god's strength flowing into the grain while the goddess is full and abundant. Maybe try baking crescent moon-shaped bread to honor both divine aspects, the masculine and feminine. Celtic Reconstructionists might want to dig a little deeper into their very specific heritage, whether that's Irish, Welsh, Scottish, etc., different traditions, because they each have their own unique Lughnasadh customs. Consider honoring both Lugh and Tailtu in your celebrations, maybe through storytelling or specific regional foods. If you follow the Norse or Germanic traditions, while Lughnasadh isn't traditionally part of your calendar, unless you're eclectic, harvest blessings really are. Consider honoring Freyr for abundance, or Sif, whose golden hair represented the grain fields. The spirit of gratitude for harvest transcends all cultural boundaries. And for my urban pagans out there, I see you. Container garden harvests, supporting local food banks, volunteering at community gardens, or even just simple rooftop celebrations, they're perfect. The guards aren't impressed by how much land you have, or how great your garden looks, or how great your altar looks. They're impressed by your gratitude and the community's. They're impressed by your gratitude and the community spirit that you bring. And for the solitary practitioners out there, I know there's a lot of you, and this can be deeply personal. Set skill development goals. Start gratitude journaling. Create meditative bread-making practices. Learn to make sourdough. Or connect with virtual communities like the Pagan Temple. Lughnasadh is about abundance and connection. That connection can be with people, with nature, with deities, or with your own developing skills and wisdom. That beautiful thing about modern paganism is that we can honor ancient wisdom while making it relevant to our contemporary lives. Whether you're reconstructing historical practices or creating new traditions inspired by old wisdom, what matters most is genuine connection and respect. Okay, say this enough. Respect for the cultural origins of those celebrations. So what do we take from all this, if you haven't already? First, Lughnasadh teaches us that celebration and sacrifice go hand in hand. Every harvest, every abundance in our lives required something to be given up. Blood, sweat, tears, as a lot of people say. That sacrifice creates abundance for an entire community. And that is worth celebrating. Second, whether you're honoring Celtic gods, Norse gods, celebrating personal achievements, or simply appreciating the farmers who grew your food, the core spirit remains the same. It's about recognizing interconnection, expressing gratitude, and sharing abundance with others. And third, you don't need perfect knowledge, expensive supplies, or access to these pristine sacred sites. You need genuine gratitude, a willingness to connect to something larger than yourself, and an openness to both ancient wisdom and modern adaptation. This is why I love pagan education. These aren't museum pieces we study from a distance. These are living traditions that adds meaning, depth, and connection to our modern lives. I'm here to push back the history and the gatekeeping and all that and make this education accessible. So I want to hear from you. What skills are you celebrating on this Lughnasadh? Are you team bread baking or team skill sharing? What do you like to do? And honestly, did anyone else get a little emotional thinking about that sacrifice I mentioned earlier of Lugh's mother? Because I definitely did when I was researching this. It was actually eye-opening to me. I didn't know that about Lugh's story, and I thought I had researched Celtic traditions pretty heavily until I was researching for this particular video. So I have a challenge for everyone. I want you to learn a new skill before Mabon in September. It doesn't matter what it is, cooking, crafting, languages, music, even just getting better at something maybe you already do, maybe something with your job. Learn coding. It could be anything, really. Honor Lugh by expanding your abilities, your knowledge, and your skills. And then share what you've learned. Come back to this video and share what you've learned. Or maybe there'll be a video from Mabon and I'll ask you to share there as well. Post it on social media. Tag the Pagan Temple, hashtag Pagan Education, whatever you want to do. I want to see your altars, your shrines, your bread, your feasts, everything. There's something magical about seeing how different people make these ancient traditions their very own. And definitely go to thepagantemple.com, join our community for deeper discussions about pagan and Celtic traditions. Maybe share a recipe, connect with other learners, talk about your skills. The link is in the description, and honestly, some of the most meaningful conversations about paganism happen there. We've had some really awesome discussions. If Celtic traditions are really what's calling to you after this video, definitely check out the website. We've got some Celtic resources on there. There will be a Celtic course on the website soon. We dive deep into gods like Lugh, seasonal celebrations, authentic historical practices, and really adapting all that for modern life. And again, check out the links in the description. For those of you who love diving into the mythology and history, and I know you're out there, I've talked to a bunch of you, I will probably throw some academic sources about Lugh, as well as other books about historical Lughnasadh celebrations and stuff in the description as well, just to kind of help you go that direction since we don't have as much on the website about Celtic traditions. I'll definitely link some books in the description below. Maybe some ritual guides and other resources for historical reconstruction or whatever. Next week, I'm not sure what the video is going to be on, but we will make it interesting. Might go into Mabon. We'll see what you think. If you have a request, put it in the comments. I'd like to see it. Yeah. Before we wrap up, I want to emphasize something important. You don't have to be Celtic specifically to appreciate and respectfully participate in these traditions. But if you're drawn to them, please take time to understand their cultural context. As I've mentioned in this video, read up on it, honor the origins of that celebration. These aren't just pretty rituals or some fashionable or fad thing to do. They're the spiritual heritage of a real people with a complex history. Whether you're reconstructing ancient practices or creating new traditions inspired by old wisdom, approach it with research, respect, and a genuine connection and appreciation. The Celtic peoples who created Lughnasadh faced real struggles, real seasonal challenges, and found profound meaning in community celebration and gratitude. As we continue to move into harvest season, I hope you find your own authentic ways to celebrate abundance, honor the sacrifices that make your life possible, and connect with community, whether that's family, friends, local groups, or our online community. Thank you for exploring these ancient paths with me at the Pagan Temple, where education builds understanding and understanding builds acceptance. Remember, learning about different spiritual traditions makes us all more connected. Even if you don't practice those traditions, it just connects us all. It makes everyone more grateful and more aware of the beautiful diversity of human wisdom. Until next time, may your harvest be abundant, your community strong, and your gratitude deep. I'll see you again.